Let's talk Chiefs here and some head coaching notes as well around Eric Bieniemy. Harrison, where do things stand here for the very hot head coaching candidate?
Yeah, keep up with the latest on the Chiefs, obviously, here on the Chiefs channel, youtube.com/ChiefsTV. Eric Bieniemy is long overdue to be a head coach. Let's just start with that, Tom, because Andy Reid has publicly endorsed him the last 2 cycles. He's been interviewing since 2018. There's really no reason other than something weird is happening in interviews to explain why he hasn't gotten a job. I think it happens this time around. He already completed his interview with the Falcons by the time we're videoing this now. Also, the Lions are set to interview him here on Monday, and the Jets have requested an interview. I haven't seen if he's for sure going to interview with them. I'm sure he will. He'll take all interviews because he wants to be a head coach. It feels like this time it's real, that it's going to happen for Eric Bieniemy, and quite frankly, it should. Here's what Andy Reid had to say, once again, publicly endorsing him, saying, hey, my hat goes off to him. He knows how he's attacked this thing in terms of his preparation for these interviews is tremendous as well. You're never going to have to worry about Eric Bieniemy on the field or off of it. I think Andy Reid is probably saying there, too, because there's stuff from Bieniemy's past, like
Colorado,
15, 20 years ago that it's a head-scratcher, but it's 2 decades ago. Andy Reid's saying, look, I've worked with this guy for years, never been a problem. He's been my right-hand man. He continues to publicly endorse Eric Bieniemy as a head coach. So will it happen? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Will Eric Bieniemy be a head coach this next season? What do you think?
I think, Bieniemy will end up getting the nod. Let us know what you guys think here. Type in Y for yes, N for no. If you get hit with the ad break here on YouTube, scroll on down and get your votes in. All right, Harrison, what do you think here?
If you're asking me, he's as good as gone. I just don't see another cycle coming and going, especially with 6 open jobs. We thought there might be 3 or 4. There's 6 now. The Chargers are on that list now. We'll kind of scroll through them here. The Falcons have interest. The Lions. I still think the Texans would be stupid to not have interest. I think that's probably the best fit, quite frankly, among all of these. The Jags would be intriguing, get him paired up with the number 1 pick in the draft and Trevor Lawrence. The Los Angeles Chargers, I'd love to see him work with Justin Herbert. And then the Jets as well, who are probably going to be drafting a quarterback at number 2, Justin Fields. I mean, Eric Bieniemy, I think some of the hesitation is, well, he doesn't call the plays. If you watch the Chiefs games, he's got the play sheet just like Reid. He's heavily involved in the play calling and in the game plan, which is what Patrick Mahomes and Reid continue to say. And if you hear these Chiefs players talk about Eric Bieniemy, they love him, Tom. They absolutely adore him as their offensive coordinator. It's time. I think he's going to get a head coaching gig. Obviously, the Chiefs will take him back. They'd love to have him, but even Andy Reid is like, guys, he needs to be a head coach. It is long past due. Hopefully, Eric Bieniemy gets a gig this offseason.
Let's talk injuries then, Harrison. Some updates beginning with DeAndre Baker. This one not ideal.
Yeah, and this is kind of disappointing because obviously a rocky 12 months for Baker.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Ends in a disappointing way for him because obviously he gets cut from the Giants. You have the whole off-field issue. Those Chargers get thrown out. Chiefs like, hey, first-round pick. Let's sign him to the practice squad and let's see what he can do. And, you know, he just put his head down and went to work, and in Week 17 gets that opportunity to play because the Chiefs are resting all their starters. Tom, he played well in this game. He had 5 tackles. He got a sack on a corner blitz of Justin Herbert. Had a nice pass breakup as well. Not bad for a guy who, A, hadn't played in a while, and B, didn't play that well for the Giants in his rookie season as well. How is he rewarded with all that? He breaks his femur late in that game. That's pretty disappointing for Baker. The good news is had successful surgery. Andy Reid says they look forward to having him back next year, so that's a good sign because the Chiefs do have question marks at corner heading into the offseason. In the near future, in terms of injuries heading into the playoffs, all of a sudden, Tom, this team has quite a few
kind of piling up.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, hip and ankle issue. I think he'll play in the divisional round, but he won't be 100%. Same with Watkins, calf issue. Had a hamstring early in the year. It's Sammy Watkins. That's what happens with
always
this guy.
Banged up.
He's always banged up, but he's been great in the postseason. Now, Mitchell Schwartz, I don't think you're going to get him back. Back injury, you're all-pro right tackle.
How worried are you about him, not just this year, but next year?
I think there needs to be a legitimate concern here.
Okay.
You're talking about an offensive lineman with a back issue after the age of 30. I think there's some concern there.
Troubling.
Willie Gay Jr., he sprained his ankle in Week 17. I think he'll be ready by the divisional round, but that's concerning. Rashad Fenton hurt both of his ankles in Week 17.
That's not good.
And that doesn't even factor in Kelechi Osemele's out for the year. Offensive linemen are banged up. Like, the Chiefs have quite a few injuries, not a ton of major ones, but they're starting to add up a little bit here. So How concerned are you about the Chiefs' injuries heading into the postseason? Scale it from 1 to 10. I'm at like a 7. I'm not like insanely concerned.
You have the quarterback
because your key guys are healthy.
Yeah.
Although Hill has been dealing with a tweaked hamstring, but he'll be good. It seems like he's always like slightly injured, but then he has 200 yards receiving. Your key guys are there. I'm still at like a 7. I'm not at a 10, but, it's a little concerning because your depth, I think, is the biggest concern there. Your top guys are good to go, but that depth will be tested this postseason.
All right, as you guys get your votes in, a scale of 1 to 10, I'll tell you about a deal. Chiefs face masks are on sale up to 75% off, available at chatsports.com/Chiefs masks. There's a ton of different variety in terms of the color schemes and the fonts and the logo usage. There's a ton of variety there, Harrison. So there's something you're going to like out there.
Yeah, and a couple of the 3-packs are on sale for up to 75% off. So you want to take advantage of those also at chatsports.com/Chiefs masks. There's more available than the ones we're showing you on screen. Yes, we still have the 4-packs as well. Chatsports.com/Chiefs masks. Check the comments, check the description. Go ahead and rep the Chiefs when you're wearing your face mask.
Let's talk then playoffs overall here, Harrison. The Chiefs got that incredibly coveted bye and number 1 seed.
Yeah, and I think that's key when you kind of tie in the injuries, right? You get this extra week off, really 2 weeks, because your key guys who were banged up rested in week 17. So I think that's a big deal. A lot of times teams worry about, should you rest your starters? It was obvious for the Chiefs. Too many injuries, you rest your guys. That's what they did after having already clinched. The curious thing to me in a kind of bizarre AFC this year is – who could they face in the divisional round? Now, obviously, they'll avoid Buffalo, which is a good thing. They won't face Pittsburgh either. But they could face any of these 4 teams. And I think you could argue that any of them could be pretty dangerous, especially Tennessee and Baltimore. They're playing really good football right now.
Yeah, I am inclined to maybe, in terms of which one you're most scared of, Baltimore's gotten hot again.
Yeah.
The
Chiefs own the Ravens, but they are hot again.
You're not always going to own them.
No,
and I know it was the Bengals. They ran for 400 yards against them.
That was pretty wild.
400 yards. So, Harrison, of these 4, who would you rather see them play?
Bring on the Browns. Okay. I don't think Baker Mayfield can hang with Patrick Mahomes. I just don't think so. I don't think he's got the horses. Unless Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt rush for 275, how are they going to beat the Chiefs? I don't think they can score enough to do so. They have an okay defense, but it's not good enough to keep Patrick Mahomes in check. I'm going with the Browns. That's who I would want to play if I am Kansas City. They will obviously take on the Pittsburgh Steelers in that 3-versus-6 matchup. Honestly, I'd love to play the Steelers, but that can't happen because they're the number 3 seed. That could happen in the AFC title game. I'm typing my CLE for Cleveland.
You guys can get your votes in here. It's TEN for the Titans, BAL for the Ravens, IND for the Colts, of course, and then CLE for Harrison's pick of the Cleveland Browns. Get your votes in for us in the comments section.